It's Mr. Christopher of the Funkatopia radio show, and it is an honor for me to welcome to Funkatopia Live. Mr. Robert Kool Bell is in the house from Kool and the Gang. What's up, brother? How are you?
Hey, Christopher, how you doing, man?
Oh man, I'm just so excited. I mean, so many massive hits. I mean, Too Hot and Jungle Boogie and Ladies Night and Celebration, Cherish, Hollywood Swinging. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. I mean, legend in the house. It is an honor to have you here.
Well, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, I kind of want to start a little bit from the beginning because I know we got a limited amount of time with you, but I just had some basic questions. I mean, you guys started in 1964. I put this band together in 1964, which is amazing. I mean, that's 4 years before I was born. I didn't know. I thought, and for some reason, I don't know, whatever it may have been, I knew that you guys had worked together in the 70s, but you guys started in 1964. What exactly? Was it the same type of band in 1964, or did you guys progress into some of the new material that you guys really hit out with in the 70s?
Yeah, well, we started back in 1964. We started as the Jazzy Acts. And then because of our love for jazz, my brother was into John Coltrane, and Dennis D.T. Thomas was into Cannibal Adderley, George Brown, Philly Joe Jones, and myself, Ron Carter. So we called ourselves the Jazzy Acts. And then we got involved in Jersey City with an organization called the Soul Town Review. Now, the Soul Town Review was trying to be like the Motown Review.
Oh, right.
So we became the backup band for the Soul Town Review. And we had to learn all these Motown songs and et cetera, et cetera. Then we changed the name from Soul Town to Kool and the Flames.
Kool and the Flames?
Kool and the Flames.
Oh,
and needless to say, we didn't want to have any problems with the Godfather, James Brown, and the famous Flames.
Yeah.
So we thought of many names to call ourselves. We said, well, we'll just call ourselves Kool and the Gang. We got the jazz, we got the funk, et cetera, et cetera. And that's when we changed the name to Kool and the Gang in 1968. Recorded an album called Kool and the Gang, and we came out with our first single in 1969, Kool and the Gang. And that's how it started. We have been Kool and the Gang, and even that Kool and the Gang is over 50 years.
Right. Yeah, I was trying to do the math in my head. I'll be 53 this year, so that makes you guys 57 years young in the industry. And is there any constant that you've seen in the music industry over the decades? I mean, there's been a lot of changes, a lot of payola and all that different types of things, but is there any constants that you see even in today, the way that they handle the music industry?
Well, I would say almost the same to some degree, because now we have social media.
Yeah.
We didn't have that back in the day.
Right.
Now we have streaming, and I'm old school. Whatever happened to the vinyl? Whatever happened to CDs?
So much vinyl behind me.
That's the world I'm from. But yes, there's been that kind of a change. Dealing with your social media and trying to get airplay for your live concerts now, because it's not any record sold like that anymore. So,
right.
So you're streaming and you're building your name to try to put people in the seats.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I mean, you guys broke out in 1973 with your Wild and Peaceful album. I know you had an album before that, but the Wild and Peaceful album broke you guys out with Jungle Boogie and Hollywood Swinging. Do you remember where you were the first time that you heard your song on the radio?
Oh, the first song was back in Jersey City, and that was Kool and the Gang.
And you remember where you were? Were you riding in your car?
I was walking down the street, and back then you had a little transistor radio, and I'm just coming out of high school and saying, wow, that's my record. Kool in the Gang. That was the first time. Of course, many years, and
Right.
when we're talking about funky stuff,
Right.
Hollywood swinging,
Mhm.
Jungle Boogie, the Wild and Peaceful album. Those were huge songs for us.
So, yeah, you
But
couldn't
we had
go.
a lot of territorial hits coming up, like a Funky Man, Funky Granny, Good Times, Sea of Tranquility. But the big time period was around '74 with those records you just mentioned.
Yeah, you couldn't go anywhere without hearing those songs everywhere that you went. I mean, everywhere that you went.
Oh yeah.
Which is obviously fantastic. One of my favorite movies of all time is Pulp Fiction.
Ah,
And I know that you have to be thinking, I guess the first thing, and I never know how movies work as far as their incorporation of songs. And for those that are uninitiated, obviously, who have not maybe seen Pulp Fiction, I don't know where you've been on the planet if you have not seen that movie. Very, very, very violent movie. But in the intro of it, after they do this restaurant scene, there's just credits rolling, and it's a sound of a radio kind of going from one station to the other, and then all of a sudden it breaks into Jungle Boogie. First off, were you approached directly? Were you already aware of how your song was going to be used in this movie, and did you get an opportunity to actually see the movie and experience it?
well, that was the record company and our publishers got the song in the Pulp Fiction movie. And the other thing was there was a saying around the country, especially in Chicago, that was everything is cool in the gang. So in the beginning of the movie, Samuel L. Jackson went, "Hey man, everything's cool in the gang." And so I think the record worked for the movie.
Oh yeah.
Quentin Tarantino was a Kool in the Gang fan, and he used Jungle Boogie in that movie. Now speaking about also what John Travolta,
right.
There were several movies, Saturday Night Fever, Be Cool,
Yep.
and it goes on and on with John Travolta. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it really brought back memories. I still remember seeing Pulp Fiction at the movie theater, and then that song came on, and the wave of memories and everything just came. I was like, oh my gosh. And I had to break out that album as soon as I got home. It was just, and then we kind of like fast forward a little bit, I guess, to the latter part of '79 when you guys add James J.T. Taylor to the mix and as your vocalist to the lineup. And at that point, not that you guys weren't doing perfectly fine at that point, but once he was added to the mix, I mean, you guys can pretty much do no wrong from like 1979 to 1986. It just seemed like the hits were just one after another. So can you tell me a little bit about that time, about bringing him on board and exactly, and also to kind of fast forward through that, not to bypass his accomplishments, but on the same note, what was the reasoning, why he left the project and how you guys have progressed through singers?
Well, at that time, around the latter part of the '70s, it was this kind of like anti-dance movement going on. It was burning records in Chicago State,
Disco,
etc. But we were on tour with the Jackson 5. Of course, Michael was still with him. And a guy by the name of Dick Griffey, who owned Solar Records, and he was also promoting the tour.
Mm-hmm.
So he came to us and said, "Listen, you guys you're doing pretty good with the tour. You're doing great." He said, "But I think you need a lead singer." And so we said, "What, lead singer?" So we thought about it. And then you had the Commodores, had Lionel Richie, Maurice White, Philip Bailey, Earth, Wind and Fire.
Mm-hmm.
So we said maybe it's time for a lead singer. And that's when we went back to the House of Music in West Orange, New Jersey. And Diodalo happened to be in the studio working on his project. And then the owner of the studio said, "Hey, I got this guy named James J.T. Taylor. You should try him out," which we did. So he came to the studio, and my brother took him through some chord progression, chord change. He said, "Okay, sing on this." It was a little funky. Sing on that. That was a little jazzy. Sing on this. That was a little pop. Yeah, you got the job. And then, you know, you remind me of a young Nat King Cole. He said,
he was suave.
maybe that's when we did Too Hot, you know.
Right.
Going on, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah.
That's how we moved on to having a lead singer. And hey, we made it in the 80s. I was hanging out in,
oh, yeah.
in New York, my wife and I I noticed that in places like Studio 54 and Regimes, that every weekend it was a ladies' night. So I said, wow, that's a good idea for a song. So I went back to the guys. I said, I got a good song for our lead single with JT. And they said, what? I said, ladies' night. They said, wow, it's one of those everywhere. And that's how it started with JT. Frankie Crocker in New York, he broke the record. And the ladies, brother. You know the song about it.
Oh, yeah.
Get too bad with that.
Yep. And you got to be smart about writing those songs. It's something that, you know, it was something that I know that a lot of people did, sometimes subconsciously, sometimes you actually paid attention to it. That was what Prince did all the time. He would always try to figure out, what can I name a song that it's something that somebody says all the time or is going to experience all the time or, you know, do, you know, and so every single time if somebody says, what time is it? They automatically think of Morris Day at the time.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's smart marketing. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I found it interesting that when JT left the project, I guess he, you know, had aspirations to do solo work, that he was replaced by, replaced by like 3 singers. I think it was Senny and Gary and Odine, wasn't it? It was like 3 of them that ended up kind of replacing him.
You're talking about Skip Martin, Simi. Mays. And Gary, so he's the one that was singing the song "Strong," which was another ballad that Curtis and our band wrote. Yeah.
Yes. And do you feel like most fans they just want to hear the songs, right? They're not even really too considered about, you know, even if the singer sounds even a little bit close to the original, they just want to hear the songs and kind of see a full band do it as close to the original as possible.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta be a little close to what the sound was about, and then you stretch out just a little bit as well, because if you go back, Kool and the Gang, we started off as a band, so and we didn't add a lead singer until 1979. So when JT left for the reason that he wanted to be a solo artist, that opened up the door to add more singers, because we didn't start off as a singing group. We started off as a band. Our horns was like our singers. We were known for those funky horn lines that my brother was writing.
Yeah.
So that opened up the door. And then after that came Sean McQuiller, started singing lead. And the good thing about Sean, he's a guitarist as well as a singer.
Right.
So when JT left, we went full circle. Everybody in the band, they sing, but also they play instruments. So everything was cool in the gang again.
And, you know, I was trying to do a little bit of, you know, looking at some of the history and some of the touring and stuff, and I happened to stumble upon this weird pairing. It was a strange lineup in 2012, and it was Kool and the Gang opening up for Van Halen in 2012. How and why did that happen?
We were in London and we were doing the Glastonbury Festival.
Okay.
That week, you know, you had Coldplay and U2 and a lot of rock groups was on there.
Right.
So we were on that show. Now David Lee Roth happened to be he saw the show on the BBC. So he calls up Eddie and Alex. Said, hey, I got the perfect act for us, and they're not an opening act. You know, they're my support act for our tour. And they were doing their 25th anniversary, and David Lee Roth was coming back. And they said, well, who? He said, Kool and the Gang. I said, what? Kool and the Gang? said, "What you been smoking over there, man?" Yeah, he said, "Kool and the Gang. They just rock this audience here, and I want them to be with us when we do our 25th anniversary tour." And he went on to say, "You know, in the 80s, you guys had the song Ladies Night." He said 60% of my audience are ladies. And then he said, "You had the song Celebration, and we had the song Jump." He said, "And back in the day, out in Hollywood and LA, we used to play a couple of your songs, Jungle Boogie and Funky Stuff." I didn't know any of that. So he said, "Cool, let's go out and have a party, man." That's what we did for 48 shows.
Oh my gosh, that's as you probably can see, since we're talking about other fans and stuff, I mean, as you might be able to see behind me, huge Prince fan here, obviously, and a lot of our base, because we're a funk site, we have a lot of Prince fans. And I saw that in 1987, Kool and the Gang, and this, I guess James JT Taylor was one of your singers, was your singer at the time.
Right.
You had this project where you were giving away free tickets to kids who had like perfect attendance or whatever it was. And you actually did set up all your choreography and stuff at Paisley Park. And that was like really close to when it had just been completed being built. Can you tell me a little bit of the story about how that happened?
Well, Prince had finished building his recording studio, and also it was a rehearsal hall in there, and we were getting ready to go out on tour, and we needed a place to rehearse the show. And so a contact said, "Well, Prince will let you hold it for a couple of weeks because he's not ready yet to bring his production in." And that's how it happened. So we rehearsed there for 2 weeks, and we were thankful for that. Now, I learned a little later, Prince was doing an interview, and he was saying that one of the first songs I learned how to play was Funky Stuff. He said, that guitar part with Charles Smith.
Yeah.
And Prince opened up for us a couple of times when he first came out.
What? I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah, we were doing a couple places out on the West Coast. I think it was a theater in the round. And we saw Prince. Said, this is an interesting guy. So he did the sound check. He played the drums. He went back and he did the monitors. And he did the whole 9 yards. There's something about that guy, Prince.
Yeah.
And of course, the rest is history. Prince became such a big artist.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, both of you guys were so massive in the 80s. It was just, I'm actually surprised that you guys didn't cross paths more often than you did. I mean, you may have, but it just seems like the 80s, especially that period of time between 80 and 86, you guys were massive just everywhere. So was Prince. And it just seems like there would be a lot of cross-pollination of various, places where you might bump into each other. But that's really cool.
Yeah.
So listen, I also wanted to, first out, we got a couple more things to talk about, obviously. But first off, my condolences. I know this has been a tough year for you guys, for Kool and the Gang, with your brother Ronald passing away last year, and then lately, not too long ago, about a month ago, the saxophonist Dennis D.T. Thomas also passed away. I guess it was the beginning of August, and that's just got to be tough. I mean. I know that this album is brand new. It just got released. How are you feeling? How is the band doing around that type of, like, how do you guys handle? Is it just business as usual, or do you got to just keep moving?
Well, we're hanging in there.
Yeah.
Of course, also during that time was COVID came, and we haven't really played in almost a year and a half, and we started doing shows again. But my brother wrote most of the album called Union,
right,
and also Pursuit of Happiness, the single,
right.
And he was influenced by, to some degree, when President Biden was nominated for the presidency, they played Celebration. And in his speech, he started talking about the pursuit of happiness and world peace, and perfect union. And my brother said, wow, that's a great idea. So that's when he came up with Pursuit of Happiness.
Wow.
And of course, we didn't know he's going to pass a little after that. But we're dedicating this album to him, and it's called For the Pursuit of Happiness, Perfect Union.
Yeah, and the album is called Perfect Union. It's your 25th studio album. Congratulations, that's amazing. And yes, I mean, absolutely, with all respect, it is a really, really good album. One of the things I was a little bit surprised about was that, I mean, there's a lot of party tunes on it still. You have The Weekend and Leave It on the Dance Floor, etc. But there are no slow jams on this album, which I was surprised. A lot of times when you have funk bands and they get to this point in their career, it's like mostly slow to mid-tempo jams, and it's built for us old school folks. But you guys were just like, nope, we're going to keep it dance, keep it all upbeat. Was that a conscious decision? I mean, it seems like it was.
Well, pretty much so. We do have one slow jam that didn't quite make the album.
It's kind of mid-tempo. Yeah.
We've trying to find a way to get that record out,
Yeah.
It's called See Through. It's a ballad, and it's something. But, we're trying to work that out.
No, and what is your favorite track on the album? You mentioned Pursuit of Happiness a couple of times. I mean, I know that probably brings to mind your brother and everything, but is that your favorite track on this album? What's your go-to?
Well, of course, Pursuit of Happiness. But the second one would be Leave It on the Dance Floor.
Yeah, it's a great one. That's really, really good. And
the Mars better watch out. When you want to play some horn line, tell them to check out Leave It on the Dance Floor.
So, and when we do this interview, when I edit this interview and I put it online, I'm actually going to be lightly layering the music in the background. And YouTube may say you're not allowed to do that, but I have your permission to lightly lay it in the background behind what we're talking.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. So that way I can say no.
One more. There's one more.
What's that?
Would be probably a good follow-up to Pursuit of Happiness, and that's called Hold On.
Yes. Yeah, that's the one. That's the mid-tempo one. That's kind of it's again. There are no slow jams. There's no.
Yeah, you're right.
It's everything is just kind of even with some of those you can still just move on the floor. You're not less shuffle. But this is your first album. Even though it's your 25th, it's your first album in 8 years. And I mean, all of you are such incredible songwriters. Was there a reasoning for that 8-year delay? Obviously we had the pandemic in 2020, so that's a perfect excuse for a lot of this stuff. But was there a reason for such a long delay between these albums?
Well, actually it's been 10 years. But
longer, okay.
It's been 10 years. But we were touring a lot, traveling. My brother was constantly writing. Joyce Brown. We finally got around to it. We did do a Christmas album. For the first time in our whole career, called Home for the Holidays. Mm-hmm. But other than that, it was 10 years, and we still got a lot of music right now. And my brother had and stuff that he was writing, Joyce Brown, and so. Well, we're back out there again. We'll see what happens. After 25 albums.
You guys have so much history. I heard a rumor, and correct me if I'm wrong. Let me know if this rumor is correct. I heard a rumor that there is a documentary or a movie or both being worked on right now for Kool and the Gang.
Yeah. We're working on a documentary. We're working on the movie. The working title that I have for it is Hollywood Swinging. Kool and the Gang story. Number one with a bullet. Billboard charts now. There's something else behind the scenes that you'll learn about when the movie comes out.
Okay. I will absolutely positively be watching for it. I mean, you guys all, with all due respect, you have numerous awards. I mean, between I mean, you have multiple Grammy Awards. I think there's like 2 Grammy Awards, 7 American Music Awards, and you were inducted to the New Jersey Hall of Fame, Soul Train Legend Award, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So, have you guys been approached or considered for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? I mean, I kind of feel like I feel like it's just. I mean, if Biggie and Tupac and Jay-Z are in there, that doesn't make any sense to me.
You know what? Doesn't make any sense to me either. You know,
I don't get it. I don't get it.
The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, we had songs like Misled, Emergency, of course, The Ultimate Celebration, and,
right.
You know. So maybe 2022, they will know what to do and put us in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
There should be no reason. There's no reason why you guys shouldn't be in there. None at all. I mean, a lot of your peers are in there. I know Earth, Wind, and Fire's in there. I know Chic is in there with Nile Rodgers. I know all those guys are in there. There's no reason why you guys shouldn't be in there. I mean, if I had a vote, I absolutely would pull for you. It's a travesty in my house. But I mean, it's just, you know.
Well, hopefully next year we'll finally make it to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I am hoping and praying for you guys. I hope so. I noticed your poster that's behind you on your left for the champagne that you guys have. You guys started a new champagne. Tell me a little bit about that. I know you guys are working with Maison Paul Berthollet, who I guess it was a Grand Cru, I think it is. But tell me a little about this champagne that you guys have coming out. It's already out now.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about it. Why did you decide to do that?
Well, it started about 3 years ago. We were touring in France. We had about 20 shows. So the promoter came up to me and said, "Listen, I'm doing a champagne on Lake Barry White. And at that time, we had a Barry White lookalike and one of the Bee Gees. And we had 20 shows. And he asked me, well, what do you think about doing a champagne at your concerts? And I said, well, I don't know if my fans want to buy a bottle of champagne when they come to see Kool in the game. They want cap, t-shirts, and all that kind of stuff. But I said, well, I would like to do, and B, I want to get on the shelves. And so he looked at me and said, oh, you want to get on the shelves? I said, yeah, I want to get on the shelves. So I made a contact up in Rim, Champagne country, with the Berthelot family, Paul Berthelot. And that's where, they make the Dom Perignon and the Dom Perignon, Vertigo. And I came up with this idea and concept called Le Kool Champagne. Because I wanted it to come from France, from Europe, Champagne country.
Right.
That's when I named it Le Kool Champagne. And then we worked it, and it's like, Le Kool coming to America, like Eddie Murphy. Huh? Now my champagne have arrived, and then we got backed up a little bit with COVID, but we're still doing our thing, And like in the summertime, if it gets too hot for you, have you a nice cold glass of the Kool champagne and celebrate. Good time. Come on.
And then everything will be all cool again.
Yeah. So that's good. I'm having fun with it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I think you had a bottle. Somebody showed me a bottle of it, but it's like even the packaging is really slick and it's unbelievable. So if you guys are interested in their champagne, it's Le Kool Champagne, LE space KOOL, obviously champagne, and obviously if you want to find out more information about their brand new album, Perfect Union, you can obviously go to Spotify, but I would much rather you head to a record store and actually pick it up so that they can make more than 0.0001 cent per play. It would be much better if you actually pick it up and at CDs and whatever. But man, it has been an honor having you on, Mr. Bell. I can't even. I mean, I was raised on you. I mean, I was listening to your music when I was a kid, and I just can't. It's just an honor to be sitting here talking to you. It really, really is.
Well, thank you. And I got a little saying, I should say, I've been saying on these shows that we are doing, and it goes like this. Hey, 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 what you got to say? COVID, go away, because we want to play. We want to see the happy faces again around the world. Coming to your town soon.
Yeah, baby.